Hi guys, welcome to Short Skirts and Sarcasm. I'm Caroline, and today I'm going to show you my classics collection. And my classics collection lives above the TV next to my poetry collection, so I'm going to get the books down and show you. So this doesn't count anything that I have on Kindle or on iBooks, and like as you probably know, you can get like ebook versions of almost every like old book out of copyright on Kindle or iBooks or on PDF from Project Gutenberg, like for free or for really inexpensive. So they're all not pretty and also digital copies. So I'm not going to show you those. I'm just going to show you the ones that I have physical copies of on my shelves, and most of them are really pretty editions. So this is going to be a fun and pretty video. I'm going to start with Little Black Classics. So I have Aphorisms on Love and Hate by Friedrich Nietzsche, On the Beach at Night Alone, excerpts from the Leaves of Grass poetry collection by Walt Whitman. I mentioned this in my poetry video, so I won't go into it any further. A Cup of Sake Beneath the Cherry Trees by Kenko. And lastly, Lord Arthur Saville's Crime by Oscar Wilde. This one is definitely my favorite of these. Next up, we have the Penguin Pocket Classics. The Master and Margarita by Mikhail Bulgakov. Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf. I haven't read this edition, but I have read my Kindle edition of it. And as you can see, I have read this edition of The Master and Margarita, and these don't hold up very well. They have like thin pages, and I love that the page numbers are on the sides of the pages. But if you're, holding them in your hand a lot, they will age rapidly. I've got The House of Ulloa by Emilia Pardo Bazan. And lastly, I have The Beast Within by Emile Zola. I do actually have one more. It is Fathers and Sons by Ivan Turganev, but I lent it to a friend and then quarantine happened, so it is staying with her for the foreseeable future. And what I love about these is that they come in really bright colors, and that they're also color-coded by original language. So red is works translated from Russian, orange is English, and then yellow is Spanish, and this dark blue, almost indigo, is French. I think light green, I don't have any light greens, but I think that is Japanese, and then dark green is German. And there must be other ones, but I can't really remember what they are off the top of my head. Next up, we have Wordsworth Classics, and I only have two, and I got these in Charing Cross bookshops as well. So the first one is the Essential Kafka, obviously featuring the beetle from what's it called? The Metamorphosis, which I have read. I read it in English class, and I liked it. I didn't love it. I haven't read the rest of it. And this one is in English and is translated. I would like to, read it in the original German at some point when I get my hands on those. And my other one is Finnegan's Wake, which I have no plans to read in the immediate future. This is not a high priority read. I did read Dubliners last year, and I really enjoyed it, even though, like I keep saying, I don't really like short stories. But I liked some of those stories enough that I enjoyed the collection as a whole. So next I have my vintage classics. I have I Capture the Castle, and I've read this edition. As you can see, the spine is cracked when well loved. I have Tender as the Night by, what's his name? F. Scott Fitzgerald. And I've got Death in the Afternoon by Ernest Hemingway. And so I haven't read these two. Obviously, I have read his famous one, which has a name that I will recall shortly, I'm sure. The Great Gatsby. I've also read Tales from the Jazz Age, which I thought was okay. I thought the stories were hit and miss. And I've also read This Side of Paradise, which I did not enjoy, so I've given that copy away. My next ones are my Clothbound Classics, and I haven't read these editions because I don't want them to get dirty, but this one is Madame Bovary, which I have not read in any edition. A Picture of Dorian Gray, which I also haven't read. Emma by Jane Austen, which I have read, but it was a very long time ago, so I don't actually remember any of it. I love Clueless though. Bleak House, which I have read, not this edition. I read it in my Barnes & Noble edition a long time ago. I read it when I was in high school, but I didn't read it for high school. I've got Inferno, which I also have not read. And lastly, The Complete Sonnets of Shakespeare and A Lover's Complaint, which I wish I enjoyed, but I did not. And these are editions that I would, of course, love to have more of. I think they're absolutely gorgeous. Ones I would really like to have are Little Women, because I love that book. And the other Jane Austen ones, I think. I do have Mansfield Park in a Barnes & Noble edition, but it is at home at my parents' house, and I got about halfway through it before I put it down to focus on something else, because I think I was a bit too young for it. I think I read it, well, tried to read it when I was about 12. Mistakes were made. And I put it down for some reason, and then I forgot about it, and then I had to pack it up. So one day I'll go back to it, but I'll have to start over because who knows what happens in the beginning of that book. My next collection is from the Macmillan Collector's Library, and I only have one, and it is Pollyanna by Eleanor H. Porter. I haven't read this. I did see the movie with Haley Mills. This was a gift from my boyfriend's mom, and it has beautiful gilded edges, and the inside is also beautiful. And the cover, the inside cover is embossed and also cloth bound. And the next few books are not part of any particular literary collection, but I do have two German ones. I have Serrata by Hermann Hesse, which I have read, and I've got Im Westen nichts Neues by Erich Maria Remarque, which I have read, but I read it in English. I haven't read this. And this is not a particularly pretty edition, but it's what's available in England. Maybe one day I'll get a prettier edition in German. I did enjoy the English, but I think it would be better in German, so I decided I would reread. These next books are really old. So first up, I have The Woman in White by Wilkie Collins, and I got this in one of these shops on Charing Cross Road, and I did read this edition, and it held together really well. You know, old books are sturdy, and I went shopping with one of my friends, and she actually got the matching edition of The Moonstone, also by Wilkie Collins, and they were previously owned by the same person, and so it's like we're always together, kind of. Next, I have 3 matching editions of E.M. Forster books, and I also got them in shops on Charing Cross Road. I got these two together, A Room with a View and Howard's End, on the same shopping trip, and I went back at another time and I found aspects of the novel and bought that as well, so I would have the matching set. And I did read Howard's End in this edition, and I haven't read aspects of a novel yet. I have read Room with a View, but I did read it on my Kindle because I read Howard's End back in the days when we could travel, and I did take this with me on the tube, and I decided it was such a stressful experience that I didn't want to do that again, because these are gorgeous and precious, and I don't want anything to happen to them. Next up, I have Beside the Bonnie Briar Bush by Ian McLaren. I don't know where I got this, and I don't know why I bought it. I might not have bought it. Someone might have given it to me. I don't even know what it's about, but it's very beautiful. And copyright 1894. Also came out in 1894 is this Milton's Areopagitica. Milton's speech to Parliament in the 1600s, in the 1640s during the English Civil War. And so obviously this isn't poetry, it is just like a copy of a speech that Milton gave to Parliament. The previous owner made notes in it. And my mother got this for me when I graduated from my undergrad degree, because the guy who wrote the introduction and notes, John W. Hales, M.A., was a professor of English language and literature at King's College London, which is where I went. And this is also published in 1894, at least this edition with this guy's intro. Next, I have two P.G. Woodhouse books. P.G. Woodhouse is one of my favorite classic authors. This is Summer Moonshine, which I haven't read. I've mentioned previously that I love the Jeeves books and that I love Among the Chickens, which is the first in the Eucridge series. And the other one is Lord Hemsworth and Others, and this was a gift from a friend. And it's really beautiful. And farewell to legs. Presumably they're carousing and getting drunk in this book with their friends, which, what a happy memory. Remember Friends? And this is a second printing from 1938. Next up, I have Middlemarch. This is another Charing Cross Road find. This is volume 1 and volume 2. So I think when I do read Middlemarch, I will read it on my Kindle, because this one, like as you can see, this edition, I think used to have some mold on it. It's been, cleared up. It's not actually moldy anymore, but it did stain. I did used to have a copy of Adam Bede that I think I got from my undergrad halls when they were clearing out all their books when they were going to sell the property. And I read it, and I also have a Kindle edition, so I gave my physical copy away because it was ratty and I didn't love Adam Bede enough to keep it. And this is Daisy Miller, and it's really, really beautiful. This was a gift from one of my former middle school teachers. And it's really beautiful, and it has that really nice old book smell, and I think is it illustrated? Oh, yes it is. It's illustrated. When my former teacher gave it to me, she said, Daisy really reminds me of you. So I haven't read this yet, and I'm slightly apprehensive to see what kind of person Daisy Miller is. What if she's terrible? And my teacher's like, this reminds me of you. Probably not, though. My teacher's great. So lastly, I have The Cause by Ray Strachey. And this is a first edition that my boyfriend got for me as a present for when I graduated my undergrad degree. And it's got, beautiful end papers. And this edition, this first edition, was published in 1928. It is The Cause, A Short History of the Women's Movement in Great Britain. And it is dedicated to Millicent Fawcett. You can see the dedication here. And so I haven't read this book. I don't want to read this edition because even though it's, it's sturdy and well made, I am terrified of doing something to it and ruining it, because it is so precious. This is a living piece of history. I'm so lucky to have it. So there we go. That's it. Those are all my classics. And I will see you next time.